Hello and welcome to the Small Times. I'm your host, Bryce. Let's see what happened last week. The case of the U.S. versus Elizabeth Holmes began legal proceedings. Holmes is the founder and CEO of Theranos, a company that promised a pill-sized blood test machine. Despite providing little concrete proof that this device worked, Theranos raised capital until it was worth $10 billion, and Forbes named Holmes the youngest and wealthiest female billionaire. In 2018, Holmes was indicted for wire fraud and conspiracy, along with the president of Theranos, Ramesh Balwani, who was in a relationship with Holmes. Holmes met Balwani when she was just 18 years old. He was twice her age and married at the time. They started Theranos together shortly after. Recent filings in this case show that Holmes' legal team plans to accuse Balwani of a decade-long campaign of psychological abuse, in which he controlled how she ate and dressed. Holmes plans to testify that she suffered from PTSD, depression, and anxiety, which her lawyers plan to substantiate. More updates to come as this develops. The Sackler family is infamous for being key orchestrators in the opioid crisis in the U.S. The Sacklers privately own Purdue Pharma, which produces OxyContin, a widely used opioid that the Sacklers marketed aggressively in the 90s and 2000s. The Sacklers were recently granted sweeping immunity from any lawsuits linked to their company. In exchange, they had to pay out $4.3 billion and forfeit ownership of Purdue Pharma. This decision was given by federal judge Robert Drain when he approved the Sacklers' bankruptcy settlement on September 1st. Judge Drain called the outcome bitter in a statement to NPR. Representatives of the Sackler family said, "While we dispute the allegations that have been made about our family, we've embraced this path in order to help combat a serious and complex public health crisis." The Sacklers refused to officially apologize for their role in the opioid crisis and will continue to be one of the richest families in America. Detractors say that the bankruptcy plan amounts to a slap on the wrist. Maryland Attorney General Brian Fosh said, "This plan allows the Sacklers to enjoy riches amounting to billions of dollars." Supporters of the decision argue that because the $4.5 billion settlement will go to addiction treatment and prevention, this is actually a positive outcome. Over 500,000 people have died in the U.S. as a result of opioid overdose. Countless others have struggled with addiction. All these cases can't be attributed to the Sacklers, but they are certainly at the top of those who profited from the crisis. Joe Biden signed an executive order last Friday that directs the Department of Justice to declassify documents related to the FBI's 9/11 investigations. Nearly 1,800 Americans who were directly affected by 9/11 issued a statement to Biden, opposing his participation in any memorial events until he carries out his campaign promise of declassifying the documents. It is thought that these documents will reveal that Saudi Arabian leadership had a role in the 9/11 attacks. In a quote from the victim group to NBC News, "We cannot, in good faith and with veneration to those lost, sick, and injured, welcome the president to our hallowed grounds until he fulfills his commitment." The 9/11 Commission report released in July of 2004 stated that Saudi Arabia had been a problematic ally and identified Saudi nationals as a large source of funding for al-Qaeda. At least 57 Americans are confirmed dead and 4 missing in the wake of Hurricane Ida. President Biden will travel to New York City and New Jersey to assess the damage. Biden approved disaster declarations in these states as well as in Louisiana, which qualified them for federal assistance with rebuilding. Even now, southern states are dealing with widespread power outages and continued flooding. As of Labor Day, 480,000 customers in Louisiana remain without power, and the U.S. Coast Guard is looking into 350 reports of oil spills in the Gulf Coast as a result of Ida. Because the soil is already saturated from the hurricane, flash flooding from thunderstorms is a risk. Another hurricane, this one named Larry, is making the rounds out in the Atlantic Ocean. Please stay there, Larry. Swells from Larry will likely cause powerful riptides, so be careful if you're going to the beach on the East Coast. A new law in Texas went into effect that will ban abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy. Women are still able to go out of state for the procedure, but there are many women who are logistically unable to make it out of the state. The Supreme Court decided to allow the law to stand with a 5-4 decision. The court stated that it was not ruling on whether or not the law is constitutional, but still refused to block the law. Attorney General Merrick Garland stated on Monday that the Department of Justice is urgently exploring ways to challenge the law. The Chinese Communist Party has mandated that citizens under 18 are not allowed to play video games for more than 3 hours a week. These restrictions include phone usage and are limited to 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just imagine the lag during those hours. China's National Press and Publication Administration is quoted saying, "Protecting the physical and mental health of minors is related to the people's vital interests," unquote. Interestingly, the responsibility is placed on the state-controlled gaming companies and service providers to implement these changes. A state media outlet described online games as spiritual opium. This change comes as part of national rejuvenation efforts from the CCP. CBS reported last Thursday that China has banned effeminate men on TV. The Chinese national radio said that broadcasters must resolutely put an end to sissy men and other abnormal aesthetics. Popular Chinese actor Zhao Wei was recently erased from all forms of media with no explanation. It is yet unknown what effect this will have on the Chinese LGBT community, but it likely won't be good, as the Chinese regime has a poor track record of LGBT tolerance. I'll leave you with this meme, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching The Small Times.